All right. Anyway, we're gonna move on here because otherwise I could troubleshoot this bug for a while. So I don't want to do all that in front of you. We want to get into our basic math operators here. So we're just gonna have to put in a regular integer, I guess. I don't know what the deal is because, like I said, I tried it earlier and it was just fine. I had no problem handling that. So I'm not exactly sure what the deal is. You guys will run into that as you're going through this. Occasionally, idle just tells you things like this, an invalid literal, which we'll figure out what that means later. But anyway, let's go ahead and do some stuff. Okay, so we selected this number. Now we're going to print our first little math bit here. Okay, so we're going to say n plus 3. Okay, equals. Going to end our quotes, put a comma in there, and now we're going to show how we can show that. Okay, this is not something you have to do. Put this n plus 3 in here. Again, when we are running this in our shell, I just want it to be very clear what's going on. Okay. Now, so what we're doing is we're doing addition here, right? So if I put n at the end of this statement here, n plus 3, like that, I can close off my parentheses. And now, whatever I enter, it should just add 3 to it, right? If I run that, we can actually watch that and happen over here. And so if you look at the bottom of the screen there, I'm going to put the number 3 in there. So what I should see then is it should say you selected the number n equals 3, and then it should say n plus 3 equals 6, right? Which is what we got. You selected the number n equals 3, n plus 3 equals 6, right? So 3 plus 3 equals 6. So addition's really super easy. Over here, we literally just use the plus symbol, okay? Subtraction is just as easy, all right? So if I say n minus, what should we use? 3. I'm just going to stick with 3 today, equals, okay? Now, to actually make that operator, it's just the minus sign again. So n minus 3, and close my parentheses there. I can run it again if I want to, just to check these things over and over again. And now I can enter a number. I'm going to enter the number 7, okay? And this time says I selected the number n equals 7, n plus 3 equals 10, n minus 3 equals 4. So you can plug that in for n and make sure it works out just fine, right? Nice and easy. All right, moving on. And I never hit record over here. That's a pain. I'm just really. Or is it recording? No, it is. I did. Never mind. All right, here we go. Now let's do some multiplication. Okay. All right. Now we humans, right, when we're writing out multiplication, at least early on in our careers, right, until we figure out that a dot or just putting two numbers right next to each other works just fine. We're going to say n times 3 equals, I use the x for times in this case. We don't use the x or a dot when we are coding in Python. We use just the asterisk, n times 3, like that. Okay. And we'll do one for division real quickly. So these are all the really basic ones. N divided by 3 equals, put my comma in there, and then I use that same forward slash, n forward slash 3, and that will do a division. Okay? Now, in this case, guys, you know, n is whatever we input here. 3, that's just the arbitrary number I picked. You can pick any number. You can put any number you want there. You don't have to put 3. You can put 12. It doesn't really matter to me. You can put 1. Wouldn't be very exciting, but you could. Okay? So, anyway, we can go ahead and run that and see what we get. I'm going to use a bigger number this time. I'm going to put the number 13. All right. And so now here's what it spits out. N plus 3 equals 16. N minus 3 equals 10. N times 3 is 39. And n divided by 3 is 4.33 in perpetuity. Right? That looks pretty good. Looks pretty good. Okay. Now, sometimes when I'm dividing, I don't really want this. I don't really want this 4.33333. Okay? What I'd rather have is I'd just rather have it truncated, ended as an integer as opposed to a float. And so there is a little trick you can do that with, okay? So now I'm going to say n divided by 3, okay, rounded to the nearest integer equals, okay, and all I have to do that is hit that division sign twice. So notice how I have n //3. It's going to truncate that whole thing, okay? So instead of saying 4.33333 in my output, it should just say 4. But things are going weird today, so let's just check it out and see what happens, right? All right, so let's try it. I'm going to put in my number 13 again because that's what I used last time. All right, and it worked, right? N divided by 3 equals 4.333. N divided by 3 rounded to the nearest integer equals 4. And that's pretty helpful sometimes. You don't always want that huge string of 3's there because it doesn't really help, okay? So we call this anyway. I'm going to hashtag this integer division, okay? All right. Now we're going to use our little modulus operator. That was one of the questions, okay? So here we go. This is what we're going to do. Okay. All right. What if we want, instead of like 0.333, what if we're doing this long division style and we want to know the remainder, okay? So instead of having 4.333, if I take a number divided by 4 and it has a remainder, what if I want to know what that remainder is, okay? So that's where we're going to use the modulus operator. So I'm going to take n divided by 3, and then I'm going to type has a, whoops, remainder of, I'm going to end it there, put my comma in there, and I'm going to take the n, and instead of using a division, I'm going to use this percent sign, okay? And a percent sign looks like division, right? If you ever look at a percent, it looks like 0 divided by 0, right? And now I'm going to put my 3 in there just because that's what I've been using, okay? I'm going to hashtag this and put in here modulus operator. And we'll see why that can actually be really helpful later on. So it seems like an odd thing to do at the beginning. I'm going to hit my F5, okay? Run this thing again. I'm going to keep using the number 13 since that's what I was using before. And now kind of focusing down on where we're doing division here. N divided by 3 equals 4.33333. N divided by 3 rounded to the nearest integer equals 4. N divided by 3 has a remainder of 1. Okay? Now we can use those remainders for a lot of different things. For example, if you're writing a program that will do a conversion, which I think I asked you to do for this, it can be really, really helpful, especially if you're not wanting to convert something wholly over. Say you're wanting to convert some length of time into, let's say I give you a huge number of seconds. I say 1,573,000 seconds. I want you to convert that into hours, minutes, and seconds. Okay? How many hours is that? How many minutes is that? How many seconds is that? You can use this remainder to do that. So you get your whole number of hours, right? And then you use your remainders to get your minutes, and then you use the remainders from that to get your seconds. And so you can make a conversion that is not just one unit. And so that can be pretty helpful when you're dealing with things like that, like time, okay, where you would be reporting back in that way. All right. So what we still need to do, we just have one more thing I need to show you, and that's exponents. Okay. So let's do a exponent here. So what if I want to, square something, or take something to the power of 3 or 4 or whatever? All right. So I'm going to say n. Now I can't use superscript or subscripts, right? I can't in typing this in, right? So like if I were going to write n squared, I used my little tent shape, right? So if you hit shift 6, right, that gives you the little tent. In this case, I've been working with the number 3, so I'm going to take this into the 3rd power, okay? I'm going to say equals in my quotes, and now I can do that, okay? The way we do this in Python, because we don't have a square function without importing sort of the math module, I can just take n and I hit multiple twice, star star or asterisk asterisk to the 3. okay? And that should give me my right answer, right? So if n was 2, that's 2 times 2 times 2, right? That's the third power. So it would be 8. If I put in 3, it would be 3 times 3 times 3, which would be 27, okay? So we can run that out. So let's write this as exponentiation. Is that a word? Exponentiation? I think it is. All right. So if I run that, I can do the same thing. I'm going to use a different variable this time. I'm going to do 10. All right. There we go. It works out. Okay. N to the third power or 10 to the third power is 1,000. That's correct. I always use really simple basic math when I first do these just to check my work, things that I can just do in my head. I don't randomly just start typing out really big numbers because that's a big pain. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to show you how we can use this information to do like a conversion. So for your assignment, I asked you to write a little code to convert pounds into grams. So let's write a code that we can convert something else, okay? So I'm going to go hashtag conversions down here to just show you an example. Okay, what I'm going to have us convert today is miles into inches, okay? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a variable called miles, and I'm going to request an input because I want to know, if somebody says, hey, how many inches is 53 miles? I don't want to just plug in some random number and say, hey, by the way, did you know that 12 miles equals this many inches? No, I want the user to be able to input stuff. So I want this to be in a float in this case, and I'm going to put input, and I'm going to say provide a distance in miles, put a little space in here so that they know they're just putting in a number instead of having to write out miles. Okay. All right. Oops, did something wrong. Look at that. I got that second parenthesis like I was supposed to. All right. Now, if I want to go miles to inches, I can look at how many inches is in a mile, but off the top of my head, I don't actually know that. So I do know how many feet are in a mile. So I'm going to make a new, um, I'm going to move this up for you so you can see this. I'm going to make another variable that I call feet. And the reason I know I'm going to use that is because I know there's 5,280 feet in a mile. So I can take that 5,280 and I can multiply it by miles. Miles will be whatever I input in there, right? So if I say 4 miles, this will calculate 5,280 times 4. It'll do that for me, okay? So that's what I'm actually doing right here. Now, I also happen to know how many inches are in a feet, and since inches is what I'm trying to get to, I'm going to make a third variable called inches, or I'm just going to call it inch, yeah? And how many inches are in a foot, by the way? 12. So if I take 12 and I multiply it by however many feet I got, variable feet, then that'll tell me my inches, right? So in this case, we're inputting miles. This feet variable is going to take whatever that input is, multiply it by 5,280. My inch variable is going to take whatever variable feet turns out to be, and it's going to multiply it by 12. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, it's really dimensional analysis if you've ever done that before in any of your other classes. We're just doing it programming style, okay? And by the way, this can be written in a simpler way, but right now we're just trying to make this happen. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to print out some statement that'll tell me this, right? So I'm going to say print miles, okay? So it's printing variable miles, whatever that input was that we put in there, all right? And now I'm going to say, this is going to look funny, but now in quotes, I'm going to say miles is equal to, in quotes, right? Now I'm going to put my variable inch in there. And now I'm going to put a quote, inches. I could put a period in there if I wanted to. And then I'm going to close out my parentheses. Go. So this will tell me that. If I put in 4 miles, it'll print out 4 miles is equal to however many inches, okay? Whatever variable inch happens to be. Now, if I don't have any syntax errors in here, I should be able to run it. I'm not going to guarantee that, right? So let's just take a look. I'm going to go ahead and run it. Okay, well, good. It didn't give me anything right out of the gate here. So we still have this in there, so we still got to plug something in for there. I don't care what, okay? And now if I look, it says down there at the bottom, provide a distance in miles. And so I'm going to select, wonder how many inches is in 5 miles, okay? So I'm selecting 5 miles, And it says 5 miles is equal to 316,800 inches. Cool. I got a little conversion program there. Not too bad. Can I run it again and get something else? All right, let's try it. Okay, still got to run through that. How many inches is in just 1 mile? It says 1 miles is equal to 63,360 inches. So cool. Made a little conversion program. Feel good about it. All right. So you guys are going to do the same thing for, what did I ask you to do? Pounds to grams. Pounds to grams. Right? Yeah, that's pretty easy. You can do it in multiple steps. You could actually probably do that one in just about one step. All right. One more little thing I want to show you. And here's where that modulus operator can come in handy. We're going to make a simple little game. And if you've ever done programming classes before, this is like a classic little game they like to make in programming. Okay? So here we go. I'm going to put a space in here. So I'm going to print just a couple of quotes there. All right, so here's our simple game. We're going to play. We're going to print out. I can tell you if any number is odd or even. Okay? Now, I didn't put my quotes in there, so it was starting to recognize some other functions in language there. Okay. So I'm going to print out. I can tell you if any number is odd or even. So we're gonna take an input here, and we're going to make a little program that will tell us, hey, that's an odd number or that's an even number. And we're going to add something that you guys haven't seen before, but is super, super helpful when you go on to program more complex things. We're just going to kind of introduce it today. You guys are going to follow along, okay? All right, I'm going to make a variable. I'm going to call number one. Num1, keep it simple. Num1 equals, and I'm going to request an input, and I want it to be a float, okay? So I'm going to take input, and I'm going to say choose any number. Okay. All right, so hopefully here, I choose a number. It's going to be my input, and it's going to convert that into a float. Okay. Okay. Now, guys, if I have an even number and divide by 2 in a division problem, what remainder will I always have? 0, right? Will I always have the remainder of 0? If I have an even number and divide it by 2, I will always have a remainder of 0, right? Okay. So we're going to use that to our advantage here. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make another variable called number 2. This is going to depend on number 1. Okay. And I'm going to say this equals variable num1. I'm going to use that modulus operator, that percent sign, and I'm going to say 2, right? So just a reminder of what this operator does is it'll take whatever number I take, and it's going to divide it by 2, but it's going to output the remainder, okay? Now, if it's an odd number, that remainder will always be 0. If it's an even number, it will never be 0, correct? Or, wait, let me say that again. If it's an even number, it'll always be 0. If it's an odd number, it will never be 0 as the remainder. Okay, so we're going to use that information. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put an if statement in things, okay? So, again, just follow along with me if you've never done if statements before. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to say if. Notice how it turns orange on your screen there. If num2, if that variable equals, and to say equals, in Python you actually use 2 equal signs, okay? If whatever num2, whatever that spits out, if it's equal to 0, okay, put a colon in there after that, okay? If number 2 equals, that's equals 0, because remember the equal sign doesn't mean equal, it actually means assigning a variable, okay? If it equals 0, then we need something to happen. Here's what we're going to say. Notice when you hit enter, after you've typed in if number 2 equals 0 colon, it's indented in. It's expecting something here, okay? We are going to do the following. We're going to parent you selected an even number. Input. All right. So what the computer is doing is it's actually looking at information. It says, hey, if there's 0 as a remainder, then that has to be an even number because we divided by 2. Okay? Now, what happens if it's not right? So we're going to use another little command here. You got a backspace actually. Okay. Now you're going to type in else. Okay. So basically, the computer says if this thing is 0, then I'm going to print you selected an even number. If it's not, then or else I'm going to print out something else. Now I'm going to say print you selected. I can't type. Good grief. An odd number. Okay. All right. So this is again kind of a classic. All right. So if else, these are very very helpful statements when you're, especially if you're trying to make something more interactive and dependent on user input. All right. So again, go ahead and run this thing, guys. Take a look, see what we get. We still have to run through that other stuff since we haven't hashtagged it away or anything. I'm just going to type in some numbers, type in whatever you want. All right. So yeah, it says I can tell you if any number is odd or even. Choose any number, and I heard 42, right? And the computer will say you selected an even number. Yay! Our game worked, right? Now, if we would like it to constantly ask us over and over again, that's coding for another time. You could copy it again and again, but what if we wanted it to run indefinitely? Right? We're gonna need a loop or something, but we'll worry about that later. All right. So anyway, you could run it again to test it out if you wanted to. Okay. Whoops. All right. I'm just putting number 1 in here. All right. Take another. What if I use a decimal? Let's see if it works this time. 33.333. You selected an odd number. Yeah. Sweet. It works. Cool. All right. There, we actually made our first little game today. Simple game. I can tell you if any number is odd or even. All right, guys, the remainder of the period is yours.